So, I've always loved the paranormal energy and, the spiritual realm. And recently I had this experience that really spiked my interest and made me question a lot of things. So, before I get into that, I want to say why you're seeing me here, right? Like, this is new. I'm not usually here. But being a writer, I have always had this love for people's stories, what makes them unique. Hey Rob, you see Rob? For, what makes them unique and what we can learn from them, because you can learn something from everybody. And after my experience, I wanted to combine my love of, paranormal, all things witchy, spooky phenomena with my love of stories. Because I think stories are just so important and they need to be shared because they humanize us, they, to someone just walking down the street, you don't know what they're scared of, you don't know, what makes them unique, you don't know what they can teach you. So even the jerk that cuts you off in the parking lot, right? He's easy to dismiss as a jerk. He always has been a jerk. He always will be a jerk. His family thinks he's a jerk. His town has exiled him. Just a sucky human being in general, which is never really the case. So, you don't hear about this jerk's, scary childhood stories. The one time he swears he saw El Chupacabra in Arizona on vacation with his aunt. You don't know the funny, unique, spooky personal stories that kind of make someone who they are. So I wanted to share that, especially after my most recent incident, as we'll call it, because I was doing a lot of research on what happened to me, and nothing came up on Google. Nothing, weird. So there were a few things, but nothing to the extent that I needed. So once I didn't find anything in the practical route, I started to do some more paranormal research and try to come out of it at a bit of an investigative angle, and figure out what's going on. Because once I tell you, it's what? Okay. So I wanted to combine, this research with, there's not a lot of places for people to share their stories. And we all have our own little stories to tell, and they're like our own little urban legends, and they could just die with us if we don't tell anybody. So I want to start that dialogue, and I want to start sharing with people. I want to share my stories and the stories of the people in my life, because I think we all could use it. I think everybody could use a little humanizing and just a little escape from the crazy, crazy world we live in today. So, my incident, right? I've been talking about it forever. It's time to say whatever. So, it's a Tuesday night. I'm in the kitchen making a quesadilla, throwing a little fajita seasoning on there, getting a little fancy. And my brother's in the other room. My brother Sean, as some of you may know, he's in the other room just watching TV, hanging out. So I'm cooking, and out of nowhere, I get faint, I get weak, I'm lightheaded, I'm upset, I'm crying, I'm sweating, I feel nauseous, just everything at once. And I knew I was gonna pass out if I didn't get to a chair, immediately. So I make my way to the kitchen table, and I'm yelling for my brother Sean, as loud as I can, because I feel like I'm about to die. I feel terrible, I know I need help, and I'm just slumped over at the table, yelling for him. The thing was, you guys, it was only a whisper. I thought I was yelling, it was barely a whisper coming out of my mouth, which was so weird. So my brother comes over, he's trying to help me out, he gets me a bottle of water because I'm really hot, my breath is shallow and stuff, and I'm so weak, I try to pick up the water bottle, it just spills all over the table, everywhere. So my brother gets a towel, he's cleaning it up, I'm still feeling awful, and he puts his hand on my shoulder to kind of calm me down. I'm still like breathing really shallow. It was just really, I was struggling. How about as soon as he puts his hand on my shoulder, he faints too. Like, he, out of nowhere, feeling fine, now he faints. And he wakes up. He's laying on this big black oscillating fan we had. It's in pieces because he fainted on it and he broke it. And he's looking at me with these big eyes like, what happened? What happened? And I'm so confused because I'm in and out of consciousness myself that I don't really know what happened. I didn't register that he had fainted. I really didn't know what was going on. So eventually he kind of crawls out of the kitchen area, makes his way to the family room, and he's like urging me to get out of there, get out of this space. Whatever's happening, like, we have to get out of that space, right? So I finally make my way out of there. We go outside, get some air, and he starts feeling better like immediately, but I was pretty weak the next like couple days. Like, it was bad and probably the worst I've ever felt, honestly. So of course we can't just do nothing about that, right? Like, we wake up the next day and it's like some action has to be taken. Like, we can't just pretend that didn't happen, So we start to do research. And that's when I'm Googling, and I can't find anything. And I moved to the paranormal route, and still, nothing crazy. I try a few things. Of course, carbon monoxide poisoning was like the first big one. Pretty much the only thing I saw on the internet, actually. And we don't have any gas appliances or anything, but I was like, screw it, let's try it. We gotta try something, right? So we get a carbon monoxide detector, and that's not it. It doesn't beep. We're like, okay, we can safely rule that out. We call our electrician. We get our wiring checked in the house. That's another thing that sometimes lets off poisonous gases, is like frayed wires, especially in older homes. So we get our wires checked. Nothing at all, right? So that's when I started to take the paranormal research route, because I couldn't find anything, And did you know that the symptoms of possession and temporary spiritual attachment are nausea, headaches, fainting, weakness, emotional, states, inability to move? Sounds kind of familiar, right? And so the next few days, I'm just kind of unsure, and a friend at dinner suggested, maybe there was a cleaner on the stove, and when you were cooking, it just burned some gases and made you guys faint. I don't know, but there's a few things wrong with that. Okay, so first of all, we really don't clean our stove that often. And if we do, it's usually just like a wet sponge. Nothing crazy. Like, I'm not going in the stove with bleach or anything. Just being honest. And that also doesn't explain why Sean fainted as soon as he touched my shoulder. Like, what contact, like, why would that, what would have caused that, right? Do I think I was possessed? No. Is possession real? I don't know. I think maybe possession could just be a physical, manifestation of, the power of suggestion and the placebo effect, and, just the power of your mind kind of tricking itself. Because the mind does play tricks on itself. Sometimes you see a shadow. Sometimes you hear stuff the wrong way, and I get that. But I have an interest in, what is truly unexplainable, like that. Like, that incident was unexplainable, and it sparked this interest in me. I want to hear your unexplainable stories. I want to know what, keeps you guys up at night. I really think it would be amazing to kind of immortalize these stories, see if anyone has any answers. Does anyone have any answers for my incident? Like, did the ghost just like my fajita seasoning I put on there? did I just like leave my straightener plugged in or something weird? Like, so that's another reason I want to share these stories, because maybe we can get some possible answers, you know? I do want to come at this from a bit of an investigative standpoint. And I'm not trying to be a ghost hunter or anything. I mean, while that would be pretty fun, not going to be a ghost hunter just quite yet. You know, we won't write it off totally, but not right now. But you guys, thank you so much for listening to my 10 minutes or so of babbling. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it maybe provided a little escape from an otherwise stressful day. Stay tuned. I'd love to put up more content about conspiracy theories and our own spooky stories. And if you've ever had, you know, anything unexplainable happen to you, you know, reach out. You know where to find me. And, for those of you wondering, I did eat my half-burnt quesadilla a few hours, you know, after the incident. Welcome back. You guys, thank you. Stay spooky.